I've always thought that getting married young was important, at least to fully appreciate your partner and share your life together without the judgment of others. Only after you've matured and gained wisdom should you truly take on the responsibility of a relationship. But now, looking back, I see that tying the knot early also gives you a chance to fix your mistakes and find someone who will stand by you and not deceive or betray you. We got married young, still in college, and faced life's challenges side by side. We loved each other, relished our freedom, and enjoyed the simple pleasures of being together. At that point, we didn't think much about having kids, but as the years passed, we started to realize that time was moving on. Why not? Plus, handling a child at 30 is definitely easier than doing it at 40. We didn't really worry about it for the first few months. To be honest, I didn't really think about this question. But I could see that Julia was becoming more and more worried. And like any other person today, I turned to the internet for advice. These were the usual tips, nothing revolutionary, but it seemed to me that it was worth starting with. I quit smoking, we started eating healthier, added more fruits and vegetables to our diet, and began to lead a more active lifestyle. Julia even started taking vitamins, claiming that they were recommended by a doctor. But 6 months have passed, and we still had no luck. Maybe it's time we went to the doctor together. I asked, knowing that I'm an adult and fully aware that there could be issues with conception on either side. Rather than guessing or waiting around, I thought it'd be smarter to just go and get checked out. Julia agreed right away. The doctor ran some tests and casually suggested the best approach, one that had worked for many couples over the years. Stop stressing about it. Don't let it consume you. Just enjoy life. Go to the sea, the doctor added with a smile. It sometimes works wonders. I could see the disappointment on Julia's face as she looked at all the test orders. It was like she thought she'd missed her chance. I gave her hand a reassuring squeeze, and we left the clinic together. You know, I said as we got in the car, let's just go to the sea. We'll take a break, enjoy ourselves, and then come back with a fresh perspective to tackle all these tests. She agreed, though there wasn't much excitement in her voice. We ended up flying to Greece, something Julia had been wanting to do for a while. We had an amazing time, and when we got back, I dove straight into work, not even thinking about the doctor's orders right away. Somewhere in the back of my mind, I must have been hoping that things would just fall into place. But the miracle I was hoping for didn't happen. I didn't want to admit it, but it was clear. There was an issue, and it needed to be addressed. Julia, I've been thinking. I finally brought up the tests about a month and a half after we got back from our trip. Maybe it's time we take them after all. No need, she replied with a quick smile. We did it. At first, I didn't even believe her. But then she showed me the ultrasound results, and just like that, the tight knot in my chest loosened. The pregnancy was as smooth as my own birth, which, by the way, I refuse to be a part of. After all, there are some things that should stay beyond a man's reach. From the very first moment, when I held her in my arms and smelled her little delicate scent, I fell in love with our daughter. 2 years of joyful parenthood flew by in the blink of an eye. I felt like I still had more fatherly love to give, and who doesn't dream of having a son? Do you want more kids? I asked one day. Of course, that would be great, but I think we've had enough of Alice, she replied with her standard response. I didn't let up. I kept pressing her on the subject. Julia got frustrated at first, but eventually she gave in, reminding me that we'd already faced difficulties once before. But well, the solution to our problems was running around the house, so I felt like I had to try again. A year passed, and I started thinking more seriously about the reasons behind it all. But Julia, on the other hand, didn't see any issue. She was fine, busy with Alice and life. So I went to see a doctor on my own. I didn't want to believe it, but the result was clear. It wasn't happening. I even went to another clinic to double-check, but the results were the same. It was hard to accept, especially since I had an alibi. The doctors just shrugged, looking at me with a touch of sympathy. "It happens," the last doctor said to me, giving me a reassuring pat. "Talk to your spouse." That didn't help. I was filled with frustration, and soon that frustration turned to anger. "I want a DNA test," I blurted out from the doorway, watching Julia's face drain of color. "Why?" she asked, clearly taken aback. "I need to be sure Alice is my daughter." "Don't you trust me?" she asked, instantly defensive. "How could you even say that?" Her voice wavered, and then she burst into tears. "Where did that idea even come from?" she sobbed, as if the very thought had shattered her. "Yeah, it's easy to think that when you find out you're infertile," I said, and the moment I spoke, all of her tears stopped. In an instant, she switched gears and started talking about me taking the tests again. Well, I calmly handed her the identical results from 3 different clinics. Now I was waiting for an explanation, and listening to her felt incredibly painful and humiliating. She quickly turned the blame on me, doubting whether I could even have children, considering she had been pregnant once when she was younger, but the pregnancy was terminated. Then she dropped a bombshell. She confessed that at one point she'd gotten involved with someone else. After several secret meetings, he'd promised her a child and even said he'd give her 7 more if she left me. But in the end, he left for abroad before she had a chance to make any decision. Perhaps this was his revenge for Julia leaving him all those years ago. I didn't know what to say. I just sat there, completely lost, not sure how to process it all. My sweet and beloved daughter, who wasn't mine, was sitting right there in the room. The decision I made wasn't easy, but in the end, I knew it was the right one. Alice was still young, and she wouldn't remember me, which meant she wouldn't have to suffer mentally. I distanced myself from them as much as I could, got the DNA test, and then took it to court to prove that I wasn't connected to her in any way. I was cursed, called every name under the sun, and hated. But eventually, she went back to her parents, and I never heard from them again.